unknown to the majority.
There's a powerful force which impacts our lives every 7 years. This powerful force is coming back soon.
Most of us have seen the events in the news.
43%.
It was the worst day on Wall Street since the crash of 1987.
What started in America last year has now spread to every part of the world.
But we have never heard the word Shemitah. If it's something so important, then why don't I know more about it? Have I seen this happen before? How do I know when it's coming? What kind of events could this bring? This is FBFM. Let's journey together and explore the Shemitah. In September 2001, I was in the 5th grade working hard on my studies at school, when all of a sudden there was a big story in the news. This story was so big that all the classes in school were cancelled.
This event became known as the 9/11.
The towers went down, and over the next year, so did the stock markets.
The financial and economic realm was thoroughly devastated. It stood no match for the 7-year cycle. The Shemitah happens every 7 years and starts on the first day of the 7th month. In Hebrew, it is known as the holy month of Tishri. From the top 8 greatest post-war percentage crashes, 100% of all these crashes are connected to the Shemitah, its wake, or the biblical month of Tishri. And although it would seem easy to say this is all a coincidence and deny that there's any connection at all,
It wouldn't be that easy. Take, for example, 7 years before 9/11, the Great Bond Market Massacre.
7 years before that,
Crash of 1987.
if you keep searching through the history records, you will find the Great Depression, market crashes, global recessions, and the like, all connected to the Shemitah. When is the next Shemitah? And what does the word Shemitah even mean?
Watch until the end and find out. Shemitah is a Hebrew word which can be translated to the shaking. It is also known as the wiping away or the release.
Just as an earthquake comes before a tsunami,
The Shemitah comes as a forewarning of the coming judgment. It strikes at the nation's source of blessing.
the Shemitah can come as a curse or a blessing. Comes as a curse for disobedience. It comes as a blessing for obeying the Lord's instructions. Blessings for obedience. Finances, blessed. Health, blessed. Everything you own, blessed. Everything you do, blessed. Victory over enemies. Blessed, blessed, blessed.
To a nation obedient to God's instructions, blessings may very well be at the end of that 7-year cycle.
Take, for example, the story of Joshua and the Israelites. Obedient to God's word, this was the generation who first entered the promised land.
This new generation is different. They're full of zeal, ready to obey, eager to get into the promised land.
Joshua instructs the people of Israel to obey the law of Moses and reminds them about the curses for disobedience.
And if you sin against the commandments of the Lord your God and worship other gods, then God will be angry with you, and you will perish quickly, and your descendants will lose the good land which he has given you.
The people listened carefully to Joshua, for never had his words been more serious.
The people obeyed, and so they were blessed. God gave them the promised land. The first year in the land was a year of rest and jubilee. And the 7th year lines up with the 7-year cycle. And on the other side of things,
The curses for disobedience, poverty, disease and illness. Your crops, cursed. Your finances, cursed. Abused by your enemies. Notice, the list of curses is about 3 times longer then the list of blessings.
The curses for disobedience are already here.
The Shemitah will bring even greater destruction.
How can we know the date of the next Shemitah?
The Shemitah happens every 7 years and starts on the first day of the 7th month. In Hebrew, it is known as the holy month of Tishri. From the top 8 greatest post-war percentage crashes, 100% of all these crashes are connected to the Shemitah, its wake, or the biblical month of Tishri.
How do we determine the month of Tishri?
Originally, the biblical calendar depended on moon sightings and the status of barley in the land of Israel.
During the diaspora, it was impossible to do this. Chief Rabbi Hillel fixed the calendar in order to maintain practice.
The Hillel calculated calendar was created in 359 CE, and we have evidence of it being used around 455 CE. Before Hillel did this, they used to have people look for the first fruits of barley to begin the year, and then they would also look for the first crescent of the moon to begin the month. They used to have 2 witnesses come to the temple to report it to the Sanhedrin. Some groups went with the sighted moon and the barley, and others with the calculated calendar. Because no one was in the land of Israel, they could not check the state of the barley or the wheat to begin the year.
It sounds complicated, but to simplify things, the Hillel Hebrew calendar is already in your phone.
Alright, so let's go into our phones and click Settings, Calendar. Next, Alternate Calendar, Hebrew Calendar. Now we go into our calendar and you will see, notice it says Tishri. Now we will scroll down to find when is Tishri in 2022. Right here, September 26 is Tishri 1. If a global scale financial crisis is to happen, it is most likely to start around this time, although it may happen around its wake or any time during the month of Tishri, and progressively get worse and intensify towards the end of the next year.
However, the Hebrew calendar is not the same thing as the sighted moon calendar.
Although the events of financial and economic chaos are accurate to the Hillel Hebrew calendar, we at FBFM do not believe that to be the sabbatical year of rest. We at FBFM base the dates of sabbatical years and high Sabbaths on the sighted moon calendar. Sighted moon calendar is especially accurate in determining end time events. How do we calculate the sighted moon calendar? And what are end time events? That is a topic for another video.
What started in America last year has now spread to every part of the world.